Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Make Time for Play. I'm Neal Hooper,
And I'm David Castillo.
and we're excited to make some time for play. All right, on today's episode, we've got a lot of fun things to talk about. First off, David, how are you? What's new, man?
Oh, good. Just getting ready for the holidays, spending time with family, and
That time
hopefully
of year.
trying to tempt them to become gamers again. But yeah, how about you, man?
Yeah, man, same. We're just so excited for Christmas. I'm really looking forward to having a lot of downtime to play, not just around Christmas, but we're going to be just unplugging all the way through New Year's. And so lots of time, lots of games. And I'm excited actually, tease the topic a little bit for today's show to talk about those really good games for those situations. But yeah, I played some Carcassonne, introduced my kids to Carcassonne. That was a lot of fun. I wasn't sure how they were going to respond, but they loved it. And yeah, so we'll talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, just plugging along. The only other thing is I play tested a brand new game that I just came up with the idea for last night with my board game design group, and it went pretty well. It was like a rapid prototyping situation. The game, I like had the idea that morning and then like just tried to bang out a basic version and then printed some stuff and played it. And I don't do that. So it was good for me to like give something very imperfect to play test. But I got some great feedback and I'm excited to see what comes of it.
Yeah, so played Lost Ruins of Arnak with my daughter because I don't know what it is. The more I like a game, the worse I am at playing it. I don't know, just I always lose at the games that I get most excited to play. And so having never won a game of Lost Ruins of Arnak yet, I thought, let's bring my daughter into this, and that way I can win one. And she creamed me, and I didn't even hold back. But
You
I'm
know what
so
that
proud.
says about you though, David? That means you are a good sport and that you're enjoying a game has nothing to do with you winning or being good at it.
Well, yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, yeah, we're leaning into the pride of like, wow, I got a daughter who can figure out this game. Because yeah, you see the wheels turning and just trying to like understand, okay, where a point's coming from. But yeah, she was just able to get into it, just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna buy this item to then get this thing that'll allow me to move up the research track and all that. And yeah, I loved it. Like that was the moment for me. What winning or losing became secondary, but I will win. I will win one day.
One
But
day.
yeah. Then played Sonic Roll by Kess with my two boys. And so, yeah, for those who don't know, I'm in the toy and game industry. And so I had some meetings in Vegas because our clients, which are the toy and game stores, are busy selling this time of year. So this is the time of year we meet with our manufacturers that pay us to sell. And I saw that they had a game called Sonic Roll, and I said, I want to give that one a try. And so I took it home, and I was pleasantly surprised with it. I'm normally not too big on dice rolling, but I've talked about this before and I will continue to talk about it. Just what are the games that after teaching my kids that they pull out again on their own? They pulled it right out. Next morning it was already out on the table. They were ready to go. And they played on their own without me.
That is the key sign right there. Lots of good games, and there will be lots more over the Christmas break. So the next part, industry news or updates. This one's a little interesting, and I think as we were preparing for the show, we decided we want this to be a topic for a future episode. But we'll tease it out a little bit today. I just saw a post from Jamie Stagmeyer, who is the owner and founder of Stonemeyer Games, Wingspan, Viticulture, bunch of other amazing games. Anyway, he just posted, and he posted a quote that's been circling around from Ignacy, can't say the last name, Tretzwizek from Portal Games. I'm sure I butchered that. And he was kind of lamenting the fact that there's fewer reprints happening with newer games. And so I just wanted to read the quote, and then I'll let you just share a thought or two, and then we'll just tease it out because we'll talk more about it in the future. But he said, in the past 2 weeks, last copies of Imperial Settlers and Alien Artifacts sold out from our website. Games are gone. There is no reprint planned. Gone forever. It makes me sad on so many levels. I am brutally honest. This is no longer an industry with possible reprints. Games come and die fast. You put a title on the market, and a few months later, it is considered old. That was the quote that Jamie Stagmeyer was reacting to, and he gave a little bit of a rebuttal and saying that they had actually reprinted, almost, I think it was like 90% of their games have been reprinted, and almost all of those were multiple reprints. So, but it is an interesting topic, right? That it is getting harder to make an evergreen game that will sell into perpetuity. So just a fascinating article. I know we're going to dive deeper into this in a future episode, but what's your hot take, David?
Oh man, yeah, I this could potentially change by the time that we dive deep into this, but I tend to look at things like this through the lens of just like what part of this is culture, what part of this is business, and where are they not aligning? And
Right.
maybe that doesn't even come to play here, but that's what I'm seeing here. A culture of gamers who just love the latest and greatest. And we are so benefited by so many people inventing so many new games. It's nearly impossible to find a game that no one would like. Shoot, one of my core beliefs is that there's no such thing as somebody who doesn't like games.
Yeah,
You either like games or just haven't found the game that you like yet because there are so many. So that's
totally
my
agree.
knee jerk reaction. But yeah,
Yeah, and I reading something like that, the reprint thing especially, there's one part of my inner, FOMO brain that is like, "Oh my gosh, if you see a game you want, you better grab it because if it doesn't get reprinted and you miss out, you miss out." But I think there's also a lot to be said about the aftermarket and, with how many games kind of come and go in somebody's library, you can usually find something, especially in the board game geek market. I've found a lot of great titles that I haven't that are hard to find in stores, but that people are now passing on. So anyway, and I think gamers are really good at that, and especially board gamers. In fact, just fun story. Side note: on Instagram, I was going through and somebody I follow shared a story, and they said, "Hey, I'm getting rid of my extra copies of Castles of Burgundy and Quacks of Quedlinburg. Who wants them?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So I DM'd them, and they just mailed them to me for free. They're, I think they're right here. Oh yeah, here's the copy. Got it. Secondhand. Castles of
no
Burgundy.
way.
I didn't have those, and so I think people are really not counting into the aftermarket element there as well. But anyway, interesting topic. More to come there. But now for our main topic, which I am very excited to chat about, and it's very timely, is what are the best games to play during the holidays with your non-gamer family and friends. So I think we've all been in that situation probably multiple times if you're really into board games.
Yes.
And we just wanted to dive into that. So David, I'll let you kind of key it off or tee it off rather, and share what do you think makes a great non-gamer event game, and then maybe share your thoughts to address the question.
Yeah, I love this topic so much, and I guess it comes from that same belief that I just refuse to believe that there are people who don't like games.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's a salesman in me or whatever, but I just think you either love games or you just haven't found the ones that you love yet. There's so many different types. There's got to be something out there for everyone. And I feel that a lot of gamers feel that mission to try to get people like hooked, and it is so satisfying. I got to do it with you and your family, and just
Yes, sir.
love seeing the results of it. But yeah, I guess yeah. When I'm thinking of going to a non or just like any family event where I don't know if there are any gamers there, or I just know that it's just going to be a lot of normies that I like to call them, but or just
Normies.
non-gamer people. But yeah, naturally, you're gonna want something that, like, doesn't get people to roll their eyes, kinda like, "Ugh," like, "Here we go." Like, so, I guess from the get-go, it's gotta be something not very intimidating, like, that just seems like, "Hey, this is innocent. You don't have to
Yes.
be afraid of this one."
Approachable. Yeah, I love that. It's got to be approachable. And I think another part of that has to be the learnability has to be easy. It has to be easy to access and explain. Because the last thing, I think if it takes longer than 30 seconds to explain the basic premise of the game, not all the rules, but if you get past those 30 seconds, maybe a minute max, I think non-gamers start to glaze over. Um, that's my opinion, and it could change. But I
Right.
think in this moment, I think that's kind of like a good, um, kind of gate. Is it easy to teach? Can I teach it in 30 seconds? And does it look approachable? And does it look fun? I mean, I might throw that in there too.
Yeah, and then I would also say short can benefit because that way those who kind of missed out, those who said no thanks, but then if it was a hit and they heard the noise, they heard the cheering, whatever it is, they saw the smiles and they're like, "Crap, I kind of wish I said yes." Now they have that chance to get in for round 2. Or you have those people that can say rematch.
Yes. And I think there's some great games, and we're going to talk about a few in a second here that really find that balance of being just short enough that a non-gamer is like, oh, that was fun. I want to play again. So, but also it was a satisfying experience. You don't want it to be too short, obviously, but there's some games that do that really well. And then obviously, I think interaction. Again, going back to the different types of people, you could say high interaction doesn't have to be a part of it, but I would say generally speaking, you're looking for someone to have fun. If it's a group, I think high interactive games are really, that's also a great attribute or characteristic of a great non gamer event game. What would you say?
Yeah, agreed. And I will say I do have a caveat to that. Like if I could list a few topic or a few games that I like to bring for this, I do have one that actually I don't know would be very interactive in terms of at least what comes to mind when I think of the word interactive. But I still know why like it does so well in this sort of scenario, though. But yeah, I guess anything you want to add before we jump into some of our favorites to bring.
No, I think that's great. I think, and I do think there's a caveat there. If you have a more introverted or shy group of people, high interaction being, I'm messing with your board or your cards, or I'm negotiating with you. You could have games like, and again, I don't think this is on our list or would fit, but I'm just thinking of like Splendor. Maybe is a good example of a game that doesn't have a ton of. It's not highly interactive. You're all pulling from the same market, but there's definitely some downtime to engage and converse with people while you're playing. So maybe there's
Yeah,
there, but
and I guess just one way to sum this up is I don't know that something I don't know that any of the games that come to mind for me for bringing to these sorts of gatherings have all of these attributes, but they just do at least one or two of them really well. And
yeah.
that's why that game works for this setting.
Yeah, and I think you could, again, it depends on the type of event and the group of people, but there are some games that are more mindless, but they're great for just having something to do while you're catching up with people. And so um we just played a game called the L Project, which is a very puzzly, almost like Tetris game. I don't know. Have you played the L Project?
No, I haven't.
It's a great game. It's very puzzling, but it's almost so intense and requires so much brain power. That was actually something that Abria said while when we were done was like, "Oh my gosh, I felt like it took so much of my brain power and attention that I couldn't even like we weren't even talking to each other, and it almost felt like you were playing a game at the same time, but like side by side and not together, if that makes
Yeah,
sense." So
yeah.
anyway, there's just another thought is kind of that level of strategy or intensity. And again, just depending on the group, that could be something fun that people like to do. Puzzles are huge and that requires some brain power, but I guess it depends on the person too. People that are really good at puzzles, it can be more of a mindless task. But anyway, I just thought I would throw that out as well.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, I think of so like one time that I went to I guess to talk some examples now. I think of going to a neighborhood wings night with a bunch of dudes in the neighborhood, and so having been to that event, we like I said, it's an annual wings night that we do. Um, I just know it's a lot of standing around and talking and socializing and that sort of thing. So I just know it's not the type of thing where I would bring Splendor to, even though I think Splendor is a great gateway game because it is just so easy to
Yes.
teach. And anyway, it just rides that line. It skirts that line. It satisfies the strategic people a lot, and yet it is so easy to teach and very satisfying to learn.
And you
But for
are
this one, I
really good
brought
at that one. Fun fact
what's that?
about David is David at Gen Con 2024 won the Splendor tournament, actually. So just going back to you not being good at Lost Ruins or Arnak, but still enjoying it. Splendor, he is very good at. So just had to throw that out.
I didn't do so good this year, but it's okay. It's yeah. I guess that's one of the few where I could say I do hold my own on that one. but
Nice.
but yeah, to that Wings night, I brought Flip 7 because you talk about learnability and short and interaction on that one. Um, like only one person needs to know how to play that, and that's the dealer.
Yeah.
You don't have to explain any rules. You just start dealing people out, and you just say, "Hey, this is what's going on. Trying to be the first to 200, and right now I'm going to deal you a second card if you want it. But if it's the same number, like if it matches your first card, then you're out. You bust for that round, and it's so easy. And it just gives people that dopamine hit that they would get with like gambling or things like that. So
It
yeah,
totally does. And I agree with everything you said. Flip 7 is perfect for all the reasons you mentioned. And it's funny, I've played both ways where I am just slapping the cards out to everybody and they tell me, hit me or stay or whatever. And then I've also played where you just put the deck in the middle of the table and everyone draws from it. And I think it
mm,
plays way better, especially with newer players, if you just have the dealer, because it just moves. Like you're kind of like guiding them through it. And Flip 7 is just a fun game. It's just consistently big moments. And for non gamers, I think it's a really fun, it's just a fun one.
yeah, totally. Another one that I like to bring, Battle Sheep by Blue Orange Games.
Mm, love Battle Sheep.
That's
So
my
good.
hot take one.
Yes.
Well,
And
because
Battleship's great because going back to kind of that blend of like puzzly and strategic, but also not overly taxing mentally. I think that one fits that blend perfectly.
right, and gosh, I've got a good relationship with the guys at Blue Orange Games. I love them. They are good people. They make great games. Just my beef with Battle Sheep is the artwork does not look like it doesn't appeal to the right audience. And I think it would appeal to these non-gamer people, these normies. It would appeal to so many more people. And I don't know necessarily what the solution is. I'm not an artist, but I don't know. I'd even dare say maybe even strip the theme from it, which that bothers me as a gamer because I love a solid theme. But you look at the sheep on it, it kind of looks like a game for 4-year-olds. But I have yet to play that game with with anybody and them not want to buy it after every single time. Only hang up would be that it's like 4 players limit, but it is. I don't know of a game that you can play that you can learn to play so quickly, and yet now kind of counter. This is like against the interactive part, but it's dead quiet because everyone's sitting there thinking, it's like, where's that next move? You know? But that's also what I think in a social setting would make it stand out. Like, why is it like quiet over there? Those guys are just staring at all these sheep
Right.
that are stacked on top of each other.
They look
And it goes
so
quick. It's
intense.
so fun.
Yeah, it really does feel like you're in battle. That game is so intense, but it's so good. And that's another thing. The player count is depending on the size of the group. That's definitely something that would factor into what games you're recommending. Um, I will throw in another one that is Wanted Wombats from Barrel Aged Games. This game,
Ooh.
it is a press your luck game, and it is just so good at the big moments, the turn taking. It's very similar, I would say, in feel and vibe to Flip 7. I think it plays a little quicker, which I like. Um, and it's just got a fun theme, and you're guessing what the next card is that's going to be drawn off the top. You can guess 1, 3, 5, or 10,000. So you're trying to be the first person to 15,000 points. And there's only a certain number of each card, so there's a lot of ones. There's a few threes, like five, or there's eight 5,000s, or 4 5,000s, and then there's only two 10,000s. So but there's like really big moments baked in, because if you don't guess correctly, then it goes, then it gets discarded. But those 10,000s, they pop up anyway. So there's lots of big moments. Great pressure luck game, very similar to Flip Seven in that regard. But I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on Wanted Wombats, and I would throw that in as a great non-gamer event game.
Right. Well, and I witnessed it. I mean, not in the non-gamer setting, but you came over to play some games, and I don't remember if I was grabbing another title, but you were able to pull it out, get my son engaged. Like he didn't have to know how to play. You're just like, just guess a number essentially, and he was
Yep.
in, and it was that fast.
And yeah, in that learnability, ease of learning category, it's like just off the charts. Same with Flip Seven, but I feel like with Flip Seven, you do have to explain a little bit of the special cards, the extra life, the flip three, and the freeze. But anyway, Wanted Wombats is great in that regard. And then we can't go through a list of games like this without bringing up something from Happy Camper. So I know we both have one on the list, but I've got to throw out Jungo. I think is just a fantastic game for non-gamers. It does press them a little more, or push them a little more if you're a non-gamer. But it's card shedding, and then you do have the element of not being able to rearrange your hand. But it's almost, when you're teaching it, it's almost this like, ooh, when you share, but you can't rearrange your hand, everyone's like, oh, this is different, but it's a great one, highly interactive, big moments, pressure luck. I think Jungo's great, and Happy Camper just gets, Jason Schneider. He just understands. It's like, he could just in his sleep, get pitched a game and know if it's going to be a good one or not. I swear. Oh, but
Man has a
anyway,
gift.
he sure does, and I think Jungo needs to be on the list.
Speaking of, yeah, Happy Camper Games Trio on there, man, what a game to start like as a new publisher, and to have your first one. Trio is incredible. And I
Mm,
mean, those of you who know us, you know that like I love a nice like heavy game, but Trio is just one of my favorite to bring to any group of people, just because yeah, there's going to be a little bit of that like I don't know what's going on, but once the light bulb comes, and like in my experience, it's an average about 47 seconds for the light bulb to come on.
yep.
Like they get it and they love it, and you see rematch. And man, not to eat up the podcast, but just due to the nature of my job, I get to go demo games a lot, like with stores, like to their customers to support them in selling. And yeah, I had that experience with both Jungo and Trio, where like the staff were so happy afterwards, because they said, "Man, these dads that were playing with you bring their kids every month to our activities, but they're always kind of in the background, but they came and played and they were in it. Like we've never seen them engage before."
Yes.
So it was
You
great.
did your job. You're preachifying good games and bringing people into the hobby.
Hey, and the games are good for that too. So yeah, my three, Flip Seven, Battle Sheep, and Trio, are the three I like to take. I know we've got one more from you.
Yeah, to round out my list, this is a little controversial given the parameters we gave, but I think Hot Streak is a really fun game for a group of people. The player count's high. I think it goes all the way up to 6. Might even go higher than that. Um, but it's a bidding game, but then just the ridiculous theme of having these crazy mascots running, tripping over each other, going backwards, falling down. It's just such a it's just big moments. And every race, we have this tradition now where we do a drum roll before we we start drawing the cards off the top. And I've played with a few non gamers, and there is a lot to take in, because you've got the bidding, you've got the cards that you're putting in and out of the deck. But again, if you have somebody who knows what they're doing, kind of driving the experience, it's just a blast. And we are totally bringing Hot Streak with us for the Christmas break, and just playing that like crazy. So again, it's not super short. I feel like the learnability is a little longer, but if you have somebody just kind of driving the experience and explaining it, it mitigates that a lot. And then you're kind of off to the races, pun intended, pretty quick after you explain the game. But and then obviously high interaction. Everyone's cheering for their mascot to win. It's just a party. It's just a fun game.
Right. When I was thinking about Hot Streak, like it actually reminded me of Camel Up and the same type of enjoyment that comes out of Camel Up, but with just like I know you were saying that it wasn't as easy to learn as these other ones that we've listed today, but compared to Camel Up though, it accomplishes I think that same kind of high from the betting, gambling like side, or just who's like who do I want to win the race, but just lower barrier to entry
Yeah, I would agree with that.
for bringing to these man I want a name for these people, but for these non-gamer event games anyway.
These
um
people,
yeah, I'd say Hot Streak.
these muggles, we'll just call them muggles.
Muggles.
We'll
That's
say that
okay.
comes over. Um, yeah, no, I
That's
love it.
funny.
These are great games. I definitely plan on bringing most of the games that were mentioned to Christmas break. And let's get out there and do our part, bring people into the hobby and give people a good time. That's what we're all about, is making time for play. Gosh darn it. That's the name of our podcast. So let's definitely
Yes.
make some time for play and get out there and preachify these games. On that note of making time for play, how did we make time for play in the last 2 weeks? I'm going to share some games that I've been playing, and we'll just alternate like we do, like we always do. Uh, the first game that I want to talk about is Feed the Kraken. Feed the Kraken. I've been wanting to play Feed the Kraken for a long time, and I finally bought it from Outset Media at PAX Unplugged when we went, and we had an overview of the game, and it didn't sound quite as fun, and it might have just been the explanation, but I went ahead and bought it. It's a social deduction game, but you're steering the ship, and there are pirates, sailors, and cultists. The pirates are trying to sail to one side of the map, the sailors are trying to sail to the other, and then the cultists are trying to go right down the middle toward the Kraken to then throw over the cultist leader to feed the Kraken, and that's how they win the game. Anyway, it's crazy, but what I love about it is games traditionally that are social deduction just get kind of out of control. Anyone who's played Werewolf can attest to that. It just gets wild and crazy, and it kind of becomes
Right.
just a shout fest at some point. Um, and it's hard to call it a board game at the end of the day, but Feed the Kraken is absolutely a board game. You're moving pieces, you have cards, there's a captain, there's mutinies, pistols. It's just so fun. Definitely a little higher on the learning curve, but so worth it. And it has a high player count. I think it's 5 to 12, I think. So anyway, it's a fun time. We've been playing that one a lot.
So I made time to play with Alibis by All Play. Um, if you've ever played Code Names, I think it's just like another step, just a fresh take on that sort of um,
Mm.
game style. And so it was funny because I discovered Code Names, loved it, and I think it deserves the notoriety that it has. So now Alibis um, is cooperative, and so you're trying to all work together. And honestly, when we were playing it with my young kids, I was nervous just because I was like, oh crap, this is so hard. Not in terms of the rules; it's not complicated. Challenging and complicated are two different things. This was not 6-7. Um, but sorry, whenever I do this now, my kids 6-7. but um, but I was nervous. I was like, how in the world do I like use a one word clue to help other players know which two like suspects I am giving an alibi for? But it ended up being way better than I thought. And kids also just have such, I mean, their brains like are just able to find those connections so much better than we can. And yeah, so I loved it. It was great and not complicated. It was very easy, but I think it's a natural game to move to if you've played Codenames or Decrypto and like those.
Made some time to play with Carcassonne. I was a little nervous too. I was playing with the kids, and it's pretty basic, but I wasn't sure if it was going to be too basic or too boring for them. And they just absolutely loved it. And we were building the kingdoms. There's something about seeing the kingdom just slowly sprawl out and form. And we were bartering, making alliances with the kingdoms, and it was just such a good time. They immediately wanted to play it again the next day, and were begging me to take a longer lunch break, so I did, and I made some more time to play Carcassonne. So that one was great. It's a classic. There's a reason it's a classic. Yeah, love it.
Um, I made time to play with Toy Battle. I still play that game about once per day, whether it's
Oh,
on boardgamearena.com or in person. I don't know. I just like it. Quick rounds. Um, I guess the only reason I didn't have it on my list for today's main topic would be that it's a two-player game, so not necessarily something that I would bring unless I had like several copies to bring to a big gathering. But yeah, really easy to learn. Reminds me of Stratego, but a lot more satisfying and like it just re-engineered Stratego in all the right ways in my mind.
well, and I will say, if you are going to play one on one with a non gamer, anything, I think Toy Battle is an awesome option actually for that. So obviously not for a big group, but I played Toy Battle with my cousin who's not a board gamer, and you could see him getting the vision of like, oh, that was really fun and very strategic. So, Toy Battle is a great one as well. Um, the last game that I made time for, I was really excited to try out Whoa There Cowboy, which is Grandpa Beck's latest card game. Basically, kind of like their take on BS, where you're calling out bluffs and you start going up. So you start placing low cards, and people have to go around playing in consecutive order the numbers or a higher number than was played until you get to the top, which is 7, and then you flip it and you're going down. But when you're playing cards, you can play multiples as long as they are the same card. However, if you don't have multiples of the same card, you can lie and say it's one thing, and then people can say, "Whoa, there, cowboy," and flip it over. So you're basically calling each other out if you think someone's bluffing or not. And it was fun, and I actually liked the up and down mechanic versus the traditional BS.
Right.
However, the rule book left me wanting a little bit. And so I that was my main complaint. We only played it 2 times, so I want to get some more plays before I have a final opinion. It was fun. I see the potential. We didn't quite get there just because I had a few questions that weren't effectively answered in the rule book. And so that kind of bogged down the play experience a little bit. So more to come there. Excited to try it out more over the break. But that was Whoa There Cowboy by Grandpa Bex.
Yeah. So last game for me for that I made time to play was Parachute Panda by Catalyst Lab Games. I loved the theme of it. The story was hilarious. My kids laughed even before we were learning how to play. Just I love like a good little spiel that kind of lays out the foundation of it, which is like you are pandas looking to do some parachuting or skydiving because that's fun, right? But you have a bad pilot who drops you off above a bunch of crocodiles. And so you're trying to be the last one to land because if you are the last one to land, that means all the other pandas got eaten and now the crocodiles are full. And so they won't eat you if you're the last one to land. And so,
That's awesome.
um, yeah, I had a few questions that I couldn't quite find like in the rules as well. And I mean, the play didn't really stick out like for me in the types of games that I like to play, but like I love that my boys just were excited to play it again.
So many good games. Excited to play so many more. And I've got some games sitting under the Christmas tree that I'm really excited for and have been being very patient for. So, yeah, more to come there. But that is all for today for Make Time for Play. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you are feeling festive and the holiday spirit. We've got our ugly sweaters here. If you're listening only, you didn't get to see those. So I'm going to give just a little, you know, little demo here of my llama.
Nice.
There's a nice little llama bum on the back of my ugly sweater, and then he's wearing sunglasses. But anyway, we're so grateful for you. Thanks for tuning in. And definitely subscribe, leave a review, give us a like. Our YouTube channel is up now and running. We are on all the platforms. So, yeah, thank you so much, David. You're amazing. I love doing this with you.
You too, man. Thank you. Thanks for your time. And to everybody else, what games do you like to take to your family gatherings of non-gamers?
Yes. Please let us know. We would love to hear and get a list that we could share on our next episode of all the lists, all the games you bring to your non gamer events. But thank you so much for joining. We will catch you next time.